Another day, another door wreath. But first, a Christmas cup of tea, and I got a letter from an old friend. I'm absolutely useless at sending Christmas cards. I try and pretend I want to be eco-friendly and I'm donating money to charity. I do donate money to charity in lieu of Christmas cards, but the real reason is I'm too lazy to send them. But I really, really love receiving them. And this one I know always has a Christmas letter inside, so I shall be enjoying that later on today. But first, on with my wreath. Now you've noticed that it's a very plain wreath, and this one is made out of Christmas tree trimmings. I thought I would add a decorative ribbon, and I've used this ribbon before and carefully wound it up. And it's got a lovely wire edge so it will really, really hold its shape. So besides the ribbon, you'll also need some floristry wires as well. You can't see those over there. Or perhaps if you've got it, a narrower ribbon to tie the bow together, or even a pipe cleaner would work really well. But because I want to attach my bow onto my wreath, the easiest way to do that is to put it onto the floristry wires and use the wires to prong right the way through the right the way through the wreath. And hello and welcome. It is day 9 of Vlogmas. I'm so pleased that you're joining me again today. I hope you've been enjoying this series of videos, and if you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you see something that you think a friend would like, do go ahead and share my videos with them. So for my bow today, I'm going to be using a wire-edged ribbon. And this is looking slightly crumpled because I was using it in a garland several years ago, and when I took the garland down I saved the ribbon and I've wrapped it up. And I also need my floristry wires. These are 0.70 wires. You might want to use a 0.90, whatever you've got to hand. And if you don't have floristry wires, you could use a really narrow piece of ribbon to tie your bow together, or a pipe cleaner would work just as well. Ideally, when you make your bow, you would want to keep your ribbon on the reel because you're never quite sure how much of the ribbon you need to make. So the simplest bow you can make is one that looks like you've tied it, like a conventional shoelace bow. But lots of the things we do in floristry are a bit of a visual cheat, and this is how it's done. So you stretch out the ribbon in front of you, give yourself lots of spare, and then cross it over in front, and you end up with a shape that looks a tiny bit like a fish with a tail at the other end. And then where those pieces have crossed over, you let them drop down onto the loop at the back, and you can start to see that you are getting a more conventional bow shape. And then you scrunch it together in the middle, take one of your floristry wires or your narrow ribbon or your pipe cleaner and put it across the middle, and then squinch it up around the back. And you need to be really sure that you have tightly fastened your wire, otherwise your ribbon, your bow, will just slip out of the fixing. And then you can pull the tails down, adjust the bow so it sits how you want to do it. Even if you crumple the bow up, because it's wire edged, you can rebuild it, and then trim it to length. So I've forgotten my scissors, so I can't trim it to length, but you get the idea. And what I've done here is put a little fishtail cut in the bottom just to stop the ribbon from fraying. So having made this really simple bow, it looks like I've just tied it like a normal shoelace. I'm going to take this apart and do a multi-looped bow if you fancy having a go. So for the multi-loop bow, you start in exactly the same way. Keep your ribbon on the reel. You never know how many loops you're going to want or how much ribbon that is going to take. So I am going to start off from my cut end of the ribbon and come up a little bit, and that's going to be the tail of my ribbon, and I'm going to squinch it together in the middle, and that's going to be the centre of my ribbon. And then I'm going to do what looks like a figure of 8 form. Now my ribbon here is the same on both sides, but some of the Christmas ribbons you may find they've got an obvious print on one side and then an obvious rear side as well. So if you have a ribbon like that, follow along exactly what I'm doing, and you'll always have the good side of your ribbon on display. So I'm making a loop and crunching it together and then twisting, and this twisting that you're doing is adding a bit of volume to your bow, but it also makes sure that the top surface of your ribbon, the decorative edge, is always on the top. And then back to the beginning again. And then I'm going to make a 6 looped bow, so I'm going to come off to that one side, scrunch it all together, give it a twist, and then come out diagonally on the other side. And all the time I'm keeping my fingers sort of up and down with my fingers to hold everything in place. So scrunch that together, give it a twist so it's the good side of ribbon showing, and then I've come up again. So I went 1, 2, and then the diagonals 3, 4. I'm just about to finish my 5th, and my 6th one will end up down here. So scrunch that together, twist the ribbon again, and down for my last loop. So, and then bring the tail back down, and then exactly the same as for the simple ribbon, you take your floristry wire or a narrow length of ribbon or your pipe cleaner and put it around the centre of your loops. And because your ribbon is wired, I can crunch it in my hand, and I like to cross my wires over and then twist them, and just making sure it's really secure. You don't want, if you pull on the bows, for them all to slide out. So as I say, I've forgotten my scissors, but you'll get the idea. And then because the ribbon is on a wire, is wired, where you've crunched it in your hand, you can reshape the bows so they look absolutely perfect. Nobody needs to know that this ribbon has been used before. So because I've put my ribbon on wires, the easiest way of attaching this into my wreath is to take the wires, hold them right towards the end, and very carefully slide them through the bulk of the wreath. And can you see that the wire is coming out the other side? So I've got the 2 ends there, and I'm twisting them together. And then with these long pieces that are left, I bend them back and push them into the bulk of the wreath, so that when I run my handle on the back, there's no sharp wire, so it's not going to scratch your front door. And there you have a lovely simple wreath with a classic tartan bow on it. And then you decide how long you want to have your ribbon ends. I think you can probably tell that I don't like to cut my ribbons when I'm doing a demonstration, because I'm always thinking I might want that long length to use another day. But there is the finished wreath, a very simple decoration with a lovely big 6 looped bow. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll catch you again tomorrow for the next edition of Vlogmas 2021.